Resuming at item 13, transport governance rules. We want the buses and trains and ferries to still run on time during the transition period. Welcome everyone to talk about how we will carry on. The governance arrangements, I'm going to welcome to the table different people from what's on my paper.
Just doing it deliberately.
But I'm happy to have you along anyhow. So I'll move this, and it'll be seconded by Councillor Henderson. And what we're discussing is the operating rules. But right at the start, I might point out that it's wrong. It's paragraph 30, not paragraph 31. Okay? And so all those who didn't notice that, you haven't read your papers, but I did. Paragraph 30. All right, I'll give you a minute to quickly recognise that you had the wrong page open. But they look pretty good, and we're going to have no surprises, principle and compliance with the statement of intent. So in fact, we're going to run this better than what we've had from AT in the first place. Who didn't do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Either of you speak.
Thank you, Mia. And thank you for picking up the correct paragraph number. This paper seeks... Indeed. This paper seeks two decisions from you on governance arrangements as we prepare for the passage of the transport reform legislation. At the outset, and to reinforce some points made earlier by Councillors Darby and Williamson, I wanted to underline that these decisions reflect a joint commitment from Auckland Council and Auckland Transport to deliver on the reforms once the legislation is passed in a way that keeps services running for Aucklanders and ultimately improves the transport outcomes for Aucklanders and builds public confidence in the system. It will be important that Council leads the reforms and makes the critical decisions, but the effort is a collaborative, transparent and joined up one, and that is the way that we have set out on this path, and it's the way we intend to carry on in accordance with your direction. So while the transition is complex and a very significant undertaking, as has been mentioned already today, those are important guiding principles. This paper doesn't address that whole picture, and there will be a range of other decisions coming to you in the new term, but this paper proposes two sensible steps. The first is adopting interim operating rules for Auckland Transport. We see these as good practice guardrails, a practical step for you to take to allow, to emphasise the importance of day-to-day delivery and services continuing through the transition while ensuring that the council is consulted and informed about important material decisions that may impact on the transition, and particularly on functions which are returning or may come to council as part of that transition. So that's the purpose of those operating rules. We don't see them as being unduly prescriptive, but they set sort of important guardrails that are good practice in these sorts of situations. The second decision is around setting the process criteria and remuneration for appointing the interim board, as currently proposed in the bill to be a 3-member interim board for the new Transport CCO. We need to get that process underway quite soon in order to meet the assumed timeframes for the legislation, although we don't exactly know when the legislation will pass. We are acting under the assumption it will pass in March. So in short, the decisions are about strengthening governance during the interim period as we prepare for that complex transition, and they reinforce the importance of continuity in service provision to Aucklanders and managing the transition in a careful and orderly way. That's enough from me, I think. Mia?
You've stunned everybody into silence. There's not even a person got a question. On that basis, you can reverse gear and we'll have a discussion. And there's no further discussion. It's been moved and seconded. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Contrary? Carried. That's very good. Now, the next one is two procedural items. The summary of governing body and committee information, memorandum and briefings, and a summary of confidential decisions and right. I'm going to move that as...
The truck up, back the
Well,
truck,
I
please.
want to do this as both together. Do I have a mover and a seconder?
I'll move,
Seconder for both those two?
but I do want
I'll-
to talk to item 16, please, Your Worship.
Councillor Walker has been an absolute rocket for these sorts of things for the last 3 years, and so I don't want to deprive him of the thing. So thank you very much for seconding that. Would you like to speak to this
I would absolutely like to
monumental
speak
piece of...
to item 16, Your Worship. Thank you for the opportunity. Councillors, I wouldn't be surprised if you hadn't checked your emails at 7:30 last night after the monumental day we have had. But the email that came through to you was from His Worship the Mayor, and it was around the end of term report. For the governing body, 251 hours and 31 minutes of meetings, 124 workshop hours, 210 items of public input, and just under 6,500 questions asked of staff. But when you look at our achievements over the last 3 years, they have been significant. Establishing the Auckland Future Fund to diversify Auckland Council's investment and enhance our region's physical and financial resilience. The Transport Governance Reform to restore democratic accountability for transport back to us. The CCO reform to take back control and stop wasteful spending in general. The bespoke legislative deal on water reform to allow for long-term sustainable investment and balance sheet separation. And let's remember that Watercare are now on a trajectory to spend $3.8 million a day. The tripartite agreement with Port of Auckland and our union partners, that was big. It was big, the deal you did there, Mayor. Good for the port, good for the Maritime Union, good for Auckland Council, and most importantly, good for Aucklanders. The Category 3 buyouts for properties where there was intolerable risks to life. One of the worst things that happened this council term was the 2023 floods. And the work that we did post that was really important. 3-year funding agreements for MOTAT and Auckland Museum, rather than the annual funding levy that we do. And being one of the first 3 regions to enter into a regional deal memorandum of understanding with central government. One that I'm particularly proud of, the highest ever savings target of any council term, or indeed any council in New Zealand. All of this with one of the lowest rates increases of any metropolitan council and record investment in necessary infrastructure. And last but not least, Brownie's Pool. It has been a huge 3 years. I don't have the long-standing that many of you have around this table by years of service sitting here, but I do believe in my short time that I have sat around this table, this would have to be one of the most transformational terms of Auckland Council we have ever had. And Your Worship, I want to pay tribute to you because it's been your leadership that has taken us through this. Councillors, I urge you to have a look at those committee reports that are on this paper. I know normally, and I know, Mayor, that you are very close to just letting it go. But for me, it's too important not to draw attention to the success of every committee that we've had and the highlights from those committees in this report. They are reports you should be proud of. Councillors, they are the things that you should be talking to your constituents about what we have achieved in our time sitting here around the town hall table. So I just, Your Worship, did want to spend a bit of time, and thank you for your leniency there, but you have done an incredible job, and I think collectively this memo highlights our achievements to Aucklanders and the success that we have done on their behalf. And I'm very happy to move that paper. Thank you.
Unexpected outburst.
And the opening of workshops, thanks to God.
I think Is there anything else got to be said about this? Because I will put those to those procedural motions. And then we'll go on to the Chief Executive and the Chief Financial Officer. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, carried. Very much. Righto, I'd welcome Phil and Ross to our last update of the term. You are standing between us and valedictory speeches.